Happy Mother's Day, 2020. I'm coming to you from the Mother's Room in Linside Mennonite Church. A room that a lot of the guys in the church have never been in before because you have to go into the woman's restroom to get into this room. So I thought I'd show you guys what this room looks like. Not that I really want to spend time in the Mother's Room. You know, this promises to be an interesting Mother's Day this year due to the coronavirus, all the requirements because of that, everything that we have to do with this social distancing. You know, and for Mother's Day this year, you may have to change your go-to plans. For those of you who like to take your mother out to eat to a fancy restaurant, well, you can't do that this year. So if you want to go wait in a drive-through at a fast food restaurant and then sit in the parking lot and eat your meal out of a paper bag, well, I guess you can do that. Your mother may not be all that impressed with it. For those of you who always invite all of your siblings and your mother over to your house and you have a big fancy meal there, well, you're gonna have to pare the guest list down a little bit this year. So you have less than 10 people there. So yeah, have fun with Mother's Day this year. Come up with something new, and who knows, you may like it. You may want to do it again next year, but I'm guessing the next year we'll want to get back to what we usually do, what we normally do. You know, we do need to honor our mothers. We need to let our mothers know that we appreciate them. And I think one of the biggest things that we appreciate about our mothers is the word commitment. The commitment that they showed to us. So I thought about, you know, what kind of a commitment does a mother have? How does a mother show commitment? And to begin with, I'll start with a couple of examples from the animal kingdom. You know, you women who are mothers who have been pregnant, the women that I've been around who have been pregnant, by the 7th or 8th month, they're tired of this. They're done with this. They're ready for this to get over with. You know what the gestation period is of an elephant? 22 months. Almost 2 years. Is that commitment? How would you like to be pregnant for almost 2 years? Then there's the giant Pacific octopus. These females, when they lay their eggs, they will stay with them night and day. They will not leave them for any reason whatsoever, even to go get something to eat. And by the time these eggs hatch, these mothers are in such bad shape that most of them die from starvation. So yeah, is that commitment? Okay, I know our mothers probably didn't have that much commitment, not to that level. But how committed were our mothers to making sure that we, their children, were taken care of? Let me share a couple examples from my mother. And obviously I could come up with a lot of examples of ways my mother was committed to me and my siblings. You know, I could talk about the vast amount of food that she cooked for us, the size of her garden, which was probably over an acre, all the food that she prepared. I could talk about the mountains of laundry that she washed and ironed and folded and put away. I could even talk about the fact that every Saturday my mother would make 6 pies. So that the next week we would have pie to eat every day for lunch. But that's pretty typical for everybody's mother. Well, maybe not the pies. I was blessed to have a mother who loved to bake. But I thought today I would share a couple other examples from my mother, a couple things that she did later on in life. Long after her children were grown, had moved away, weren't living at home, she didn't need to take care of us on a daily basis. When she was in her 70s, my mother decided to take up basket weaving. You know, it's a fun activity, and she really enjoyed it, and she was making baskets as fast as she could. And one day I had a conversation with her about this, and I said, you know, Mom, quite often in the Bible they talk about a pitcher, something to carry water in, something to pour water out of. Why don't you make me a pitcher, Mom? So she did. She used her basket making skills to make me a pitcher. And it's a beautiful picture. She did a wonderful job with this. Now, I will admit that this pitcher holds about as much water as a certain bucket that I've got. But that's another story for another sermon. But yeah, my mom, just because she cared about me and she wanted to please me, she used her basket making skills to make me a pitcher. When she started this in her 70s. Then about 10 years later, when she got into her 80s, she moved into a nursing home. And one of the activities they had there was painting. So my mother, in her 80s, who had never painted anything better than a chicken house before, decided to take up painting. And as you can see, she did a very good job with her painting. She just created this, and she said that looks like a good painting. And then when she got done with this painting, she created another painting. She decided to do another one. And then when she got done with these two, she did more and more and more. And by the time she was done, she had enough paintings for all of her children's spouses, and her grandchildren. And there was probably even a few left over. But that's the commitment that my mother had to her children. She was willing to do anything to please them. Yeah, she didn't weave baskets or do paintings to make money. She did it for our enjoyment, to please us, because she was committed to us. So then I got to thinking, can we learn the word commitment from our mothers? Can we look at how committed our mothers were to us and become that committed to God? Can we spend everything, every moment, all of our energy in our lives doing what pleases God? You know, David writes in Psalm 31, verse 5, "Into your hands I commit my spirit." Now, we don't know what David was going through at this time, and we know that David went through a lot in his life. He was in danger a lot of times. He had a lot of people trying to kill him. He was running for his life at times. And we don't know which particular incident inspired this psalm. But that's what David writes. That's how David looks at God. He says, "Into your hands I commit my spirit." And it's interesting to note that that is not an original line with David. That is pretty much a common bedtime prayer for Jewish children. That's what they say when they went to bed every night. "Into your hands I commit my spirit." And David isn't the only one who says this. Jesus, when he's dying on the cross with his last breaths, in Luke 23, he says, "Father, into your hands I commit my spirit." No matter what Jesus was going through, no matter what he was dealing with, no matter what he was having to put up with, he was saying, "God, I'm going to do what pleases you. I'm going to be committed to you. I'm going to obey you. I'm going to do all I can to make you happy." David carries us a little bit farther a little later on in Psalm 31. We get down to verse 14, and David says, I trust in you, Lord. I say, you are my God. And that's basically the bottom line of commitment. Are we willing to say to God, you are my God? No matter what we're going through, yeah, we'll probably never be like David was, having to run for our lives. We'll probably never be like Jesus, being crucified. But in whatever we face, can we say, you are my God? So I thought today we would have a little practice saying that. So, this is the audience participation part of the sermon. So I want to see how well you do on this. It's just basically one line. You are my God. So go ahead. I want to hear you say that.
You are my God.
Okay, that wasn't bad. I heard a few of you. But I think you can do better than that. So go ahead. Say it again. Say it again.
You are my God.
Okay, you're getting better. There's this one group over here I noticed they really weren't participating in this. They weren't into it. So one more time, and this time I really want to hear you guys over here, okay?
You are my God.
Okay, I think you got that down. So I'm going to lay out a few situations for you. And after I lay out this situation, I want you to say that line. You are my God. So in these times, with all of the fear and the anxiety and the worry, and when we go out, we don't know if that person who is coughing next to us has just covered us with COVID-19 germs. As we deal with all the fear and the anxiety and everything that's going on in this world, we need to sit back and say,
you are my God.
For a lot of us, we're becoming bored. We're becoming empty. We're becoming alone. We can't go talk to the people that we used to talk to. We can't go sit down and have coffee with the people we used to have coffee with. And even this on Mother's Day, for a lot of us, we won't be able to give our mothers a hug today. But in the midst of all this emptiness, in the midst of all of this loneliness, we need to still realize that you are my God. There's a lot of people who've got a lot of suggestions on how to deal with this crisis we're in now. And a lot of them don't make any sense. And a lot of them we know aren't going to help any. But we do have the answer. We know where to turn. In the midst of everybody offering all of these suggestions, we need to stand up and with a loud voice proclaim, you are my God. It might be that you went out to the store this past week and you forgot to take your mask, or else you don't wear a mask, and you go into the store and people are giving you dirty looks and they're making you feel guilty and you're ashamed and you're afraid of what people think about you. But even in the midst of all of that, we need to say, you are my God. We look at life now and we don't like it. We want it to go back to the way it was. We want things that we're comfortable with, things that we're used to, things that we're familiar with. We want to go back to what's normal. And we look at life now and we say, will we ever return to normal? What will the new normal look like? When will we ever get back to worshiping together as a congregation? We miss the normal, what we're comfortable with, what we're familiar with. But even in the midst of all of this change, all of this struggle, all of these different things happening, we know one thing we can cling to. You are my God. For some of us, We don't have any source of income anymore. Our jobs have been eliminated. We're not making any money. For others of us, our retirement funds are quite a bit smaller than what they used to be a few months ago. And we're wondering, how much longer am I gonna have to work now to build that retirement fund back up to where it needs to be? So even though our bank accounts are empty, even though we may not have enough money, even though we may not even know where our next meal's coming from, we can still say, you are my God. Commitment. Are we committed to God? We look at our mothers, and the most of us can see what the word commitment means. The things they did for us, how they were committed to us. We look at David, and we can hear him say, into your hands I commit my spirit. And no matter what he was going through, God was still his God. We look at Jesus. Commitment even to the point of death. Doing what God wanted him to do even though he didn't want to do it. He knew how painful it was going to be, how much agony he was going to be in, how much it was going to hurt. He even knew how quickly he could stop all of this process. But he still said, I'm committed to doing what God wants us to do. That's the level of commitment we need to have to our God. That's how we need to do what pleases our God. So yes, on this Mother's Day, appreciate your mothers. Make sure your mother knows how much you appreciate how committed she was to you. But also on this Mother's Day and every other day, be committed to God. Make sure that God knows how much you appreciate what he has done for you. Make sure you tell God that yes, I'm committed to you. I commit my spirit into my hands. And yes, God, you are my God. Please join me in prayer. Oh God, we do thank you for all that you've done for us, for all that you've provided for us, for all that you've blessed us with. And yes, God, we do want to let you know that you are our God. Where you call us, we will go. What you tell us to say, we will say. Where you send us, no matter where it is, we will go because you are my God.